Okay. Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to the good people online. Hello. As Teresa said, my name is Kristen Topo. I am the regional math coach here with the NESC. Previous to that, I was a math teacher in Proctor, Minnesota, if you're familiar, just outside of Duluth. Taught there for 15 years, mainly middle school math. I'm very excited about this new role here, getting to work with people who don't know the word Sigma and Riz, right? If you have grandchildren or children you're familiar with those words, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so we're so excited to see you here. We're really excited to lead you through this presentation on some tips and strategies for working with kids and math. And this is Steph. Steph is my lead.
Yep, I'm the Compass Regional Math Lead. This is my first year in this role as well, so we're brand new babies.
Yeah, we are
in this role. But before that, I taught primarily 8th grade math for 20 years, and then the last 4 years I was an instructional coach. I actually worked alongside of Nikki as an instructional coach and an interventionist. So I worked with 5th through 8th grade as an interventionist as well. And it was so fun to work with 5th graders after working with 8th graders. I love 8th graders. I really, truly do. And I think you either love them or hate them. That's kind of a loving relationship thing. And us middle school teachers, we're different. Yeah, we're just a different breed of people. And so we tend to appreciate those 8th graders as crazy as they can be.
But we appreciate them more now.
Yeah, I know, exactly, right? Exactly. But feel free to get up and move or grab something to eat at any time during this. I know you guys have been talked at a lot, and if you were our students, we would probably make you get up and move around more, but we're not going to make you get up and move around. But if you want to, please feel free.
We're used to people getting out of their seats.
Yeah, so no worries.
Okay, so we wanted to start with this question here. This is one of the strategies that Steph is going to be talking about when you're working with kids. This is a which one doesn't belong activity. And so what you see up here are 4 different pictures, 4 different images. And as we're going through this, I want you to consider maybe trying this out with some of the kids that you tutor at some point. So I want you to look at these 4 shapes and take some time to think about which one of them doesn't belong. There are no right or wrong answers. I just want you to look at these 4 images and see which one doesn't belong. Take a couple minutes to do that. And feel free to talk too with your elbow partner if you would like. We'll also share in a minute.
Question, but we wanted
I love it.
You'll get the inclusion in just a minute.
If you didn't hear her, she said it's an inclusion question, but we're supposed to exclude one. Very good. That's inclusive and that there are no wrong answers. There you go. Seems like there's a lull in the conversation. So does anybody want to share which one they feel doesn't belong?
You can think of like there's so many different things that you can say that don't belong. Like if you say, well, don't have colors, one doesn't. Some of them have outlines, other doesn't. So some you can use like a ruler and draw. The other ones, the heart is smooth. You could like probably pick a little bit of something different out of all of them.
Absolutely. What was the very first one that you felt like didn't belong? The heart, and why?
Because it was smooth and the other ones were more angular.
Okay. I
That's
love
just
it.
what caught my eye. It's.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it. And you went through a lot of answers right away. Who else would like to
I
share?
just wanted to share from our online.
Oh, yes, thank
participants, The star has no outline.
Right. Perfect. So the star doesn't belong because it has no outline. The heart doesn't belong because it's got the softer edges, no pointy. Well, there's the one pointy side, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Why else? Or what other one?
The shape in the corner because it's not filled in or shaded.
Not shaded in. Okay, very good. Any others?
The arrow's made of two shapes.
Ooh, I didn't think of that one. That's a good one.
It is. And I saw that as a house and not an arrow. You know, so this one was made of two shapes, so that one doesn't belong. Any other reasons? I know we gave a reason for why each one doesn't belong, but were there any reasons that we missed? Like why? Anything else? And I heard someone say, I think it was up here, they're all shaped. So they all belong. You just want to make everyone belong, right? I love it. That's your attitude as a tutor. It's great.
I think the bottom corner doesn't belong. The heart and the star and the like thumbs up or like the pointing up, those are all like symbols for something that's good. They're like, and the one in the bottom corner doesn't belong.
And
Yep.
our other online participant suggested changing the question. How do they all belong? How are they all similar?
Yeah. How are they all similar?
Yeah.
I love it.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, so before we dive into our learning objectives, we wanted to set the stage for you by sharing this video of a TED Talk of a renowned public speaker and educator who has since passed. Her name is Rita Pearson. And just kind of set the stage for you for your role as tutors.
We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best students, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. Years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Love it. I wanted to share this quote again from the video. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they can possibly be. So as a tutor, you have that opportunity to be the champion for those kids. You don't have to be a math expert. You know, we're the math people up here, but we hope that you don't feel like, we know some, maybe you don't have a background in teaching math, maybe some of you do. But maybe math is intimidating for some of you, and we want you to know that it's not your job to be the expert in math. It's just, you're there to support them, right?
I was just
Yeah.
thinking.
And now I'm gonna be done, but
I know.
that's okay. They don't need you to be an expert, they just need your support, right? So be that champion. Our learning objectives for today are to learn what a mathematician is and uncover your own biases surrounding this, to have fun with math, hopefully you're having fun already, to learn techniques that will help students form a positive relationship with mathematics, and to engage in and understand the productive struggle and persistence that are a part of learning. As part of our role in working with the Compass program, we make sure that we ground our work in equity. These are the 10 commitments to equity that we've adopted in Minnesota. We feel that today's presentation mostly reflects these last two: improving conditions for learning and giving students options.
Oh, and valuing people. Sorry, I didn't have it. That's user error on my part. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll take the microphone now. All right, so while we're doing this swap, what I want you to do is, if you have a piece of paper, oh, my hand is obviously bigger.
There's a blank piece of paper at the back of your folder.
Oh, perfect. Otherwise, on your table, there is note cards, sticky notes, yeah, pens, markers, whatever you want. What we want you to do right now is to just write down as many things that you think of when you hear the word mathematics. So just anything that comes to your head. What do you think of when you think of mathematics? What is mathematics?
If you're at home, you could write them in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Bringing back my
I
COVID-19
know.
distance learning
Some
experience. Yeah, that was,
PTSD.
yeah, a little bit. You took the words right out of my mouth.
All right, so what I'd like you to do, if you wouldn't mind, let's just share out a few ideas. And if anyone has some in the chat, are there a few in the chat yet? No?
I haven't, somebody's typing.
Okay, otherwise, anyone here, if you're willing to share just one or two things that came to your head when you thought of mathematics. Addition, number, pattern,
Useful.
useful. Okay. Logic.
Difficult subject.
Yeah. Fear.
That's valid.
Oh, I know. Calculation. Good. Okay. Do you think students view mathematics different than the way you just described it?
Or us, too.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're finding more joy in mathematics than when I was a kid.
Oh, that is a new statement.
I love to hear that.
Yeah. And so I think we probably have some preconceived ideas of mathematics, right? And that comes from some of our past histories, right, with mathematics.
Well, I've seen teachers, they write story problems, but they've made up the problems with the kid's name, what they're doing, and it makes it real, and they're listening, to what they have to figure out, and I just like, oh, wow.
It sounds like you've been in some fabulous math classrooms, is what it sounds like to me. Yeah, some things from the chat.
Yeah, from the chat, what is math? Numbers, equations, plus, minus, multiplication. And then the other person in the chat says, everything in life is about mathematics in one form or another.
Good. All right. Many of you have a much broader view of mathematics than a lot of people, I think, and that is a bonus. And I think that's going to be such a huge gift that you bring to the students that you're interacting with. When students are asked, especially older students are asked, what is mathematics? This is their responses. And a lot of them are very similar to what we heard, right? And a lot of that has to do with their experiences in math classes. And luckily, I think some of the experiences are changing. And I think over time, we'll notice these words will start changing. But you notice that the words we're seeing here, they have relationships with mathematics, definitely. But are they really math? Is this really what math is? Algebra, geometry, calculus, those are classes, right? Of mathematics. But is that really what mathematics is? When you Google math, have you ever tried doing that? Google math. This is what comes up, right? I know, it's probably not high on the list of things that you would Google, right? Unfortunately, it is high on my list. Or fortunately. But this is what comes up. You know, we have these pictures of, you know, I mean, even just this one alone, it just brings back, you know, this idea of mathematics as being just about numbers and that it's crammed into your head and you're expected to be able to spit it out at any moment in time, right? That's what a lot of people have as a view of mathematics. Many people, and Google obviously is proving that to us. If you Google math gift, doesn't get any better. I mean, notice, I mean, I like this one the best right here. When you blink during math class, it starts with 2 + 2, and then all of a sudden we're into this huge equation. I mean, just a mess of things, right? And you know, they're portraying people and even animals as being confused and frustrated and just really not enjoying mathematics. Luckily, some of us have had some different experiences, which is great. That's fantastic. But unfortunately, this is still more of the norm right now. I can even tell you a couple of my experiences. I was a math teacher for years, right? So I should be really good and really fast at math, right? That's a norm. I should be able to just whip up any math equation or anything just at the top of my head, right? Very quickly. In fact, people will even say, well, you're a math person. Of course, you can do that really quickly, right? I'm not about speed. Never have been and never will be. I am not fast at math. I am not fast at math equations or even the facts. My husband, I love him, in parties used to be like, hey, Steph, what's 7 times 8? And he would do that because he knew that was a struggle of mine. And he would want to kind of poke fun at me. I'm a math teacher and I can't do 7 times 8 really quickly. But luckily, a student at one point in time says it's 56 because 5, 6, 7, 8. I was like, oh my gosh, now I remember. You know? But that was not a skill I was really good at. But actually, it made me a better teacher because I understood the struggle. I understood that kids don't have to be fast, don't have to have memorization skills to be good at it. I made it through college. I made it through Calc 4. And I'm teaching. If I can make it, you can make it. And I often portray that message to my students. And I strongly encourage you to do the same thing with your students. If you have a great story, or even if you have struggles that you struggle with, share it. Share it with them. And let them know they're human and it's okay, right? Okay, so most of us were taught in a very similar way, right? Stand up in front of the class. I'm your teacher. I hold all the knowledge. I'm going to share it with you, right? That's the way math has been taught. And we're really trying to shift that. And some of you are already noticing that shift, which is fabulous. So back to the question, what is math? Okay, if it's not all these things we've been talking about, or it is a combination of these things, what is math? Math is the study of patterns. That's it. It is the study of patterns. Where do we see patterns? Everywhere.
everywhere, right? Okay, and it is our job as teachers and as tutors to help students see those patterns, right? And so today, after all this, the point of today is going to really get to the how do we do that, right? How do we help students see patterns? Because that's what it means to be a mathematician, to be able to see patterns, to notice them, to describe them, and to generalize them. All right, we've already done some of that. In that first activity alone, you noticed some patterns, right? You described those patterns, and you even generalized them by telling us, okay, all of these belong to this, but this one doesn't, right? Okay, so it's going to be our job, your job as tutors, to help them move through that. We're going to give you some activities and some ideas of how you can do that. Some kids are going to still come to you with just a worksheet, right? Okay, and we're going to show you some ways that you can even take just a plain old worksheet and help them do these things and still enjoy them that while they're doing it. Okay, all right, so first one. Oh, actually, so if you didn't know this already, we've been noticing patterns since we were infants. So it is a very human thing that we do. My own kids, when I would lay them down in the crib, they started noticing that if they cried, what would I do? I'd pick them up. So when they didn't want to be laid down, what did they do? They cried, right? So from day one, really, kids were already noticing patterns. So it is an innate ability. It is there. Some of them don't have a very easy time expressing those patterns because they haven't been asked to do it enough. And that's our job, is to help them get to the point where they can start expressing those patterns and putting into words what they're noticing. I noticed with my own kids, it was hard to get them to actually put it into words. They were noticing things, but they really hesitated when I asked them to tell me more about that. And of course it's mom, so they roll their eyes and be like, can we just not do math anymore, mom? Please. All right, go ahead. So we're going to start with a little activity. And this is where, if you were my students, I would make you stand up and I'd tell you to walk to a different part of the room and talk to somebody. I won't force you to do that, but just so you know, if a kid is getting squirrely, have them stand, move, something, right? Just even just standing and talking ignites a different part of their brain, and miraculously they can think a little bit better. So just even that movement of standing can help. So looking at this sequence of numbers, I want you to write down as many things that you notice or wonder about this sequence of numbers. What do you think? You can attend to it. Fine if you don't want to write it down. I'm okay with that. Again, there is no right or wrong answer here. Sorry, I didn't mention that first. There's no right or wrong. Yeah. It's going to be a big theme. All right, share with someone near you. What are you noticing? What are you wondering? What are you thinking about this sequence of numbers? And those of you in the chat, go ahead and write some things that you're noticing or wondering as well, please.
Even when to put in stuff in it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm great.
Especially talking.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what I thought too.
They call me more.
Yeah. All right. Who's got some ideas here? What are we noticing or what are we wondering? Just one thing maybe from this group right here that one of you noticed or wondered. Doesn't matter. You can share what your partner thought. Evens. Evens. How many of you noticed they're even numbers? Okay, so if they're even numbers, what's the next one? 8. Oh, and she even added +2. Oh, interesting. Okay, good. So if we follow that pattern of +2, what has to be the next number then? 8, right? Okay. Anyone notice anything different? Oh, of course, Nikki in the back. What about in the chat? Go ahead.
So from the chat, Daniel said it could be the 8 and then 10, or it could be 10 and then 16.
Oh,
That's
really?
that's what I noticed.
I thought in math that there was only one right answer. How could we have 10 and 16? Daniel, can you share with us why it could be 10 or 16? Because I don't get it.
Yeah, so Daniel's logic was 2 plus 4 equals 6, 4 plus 6 equals 10, and plus 6 equals 16.
Oh, brilliant. I love it. How is that possible? How could we have two different people with two different answers? And they're both right. Is that okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So now I want to go back to, we're gonna start future tutor path on. And think about the move that I just made with it. Okay. And think about what mathematics is. What's the first thing? Mathematicians notice patterns. Okay. Sorry, I'm totally putting you on the spot. You looked at one. Thank you.
Yep.
Did we notice patterns when we looked at that? Did anyone notice patterns? Every one of you did, right? Yeah. First thing we did. What do you notice? What do you wonder? Those were the questions I asked, right? I asked 2 questions. I didn't do a whole lot, did I? Not really. I asked a couple questions. That's all I did in this activity. Were you mathematicians? Absolutely. You noticed patterns. Did you describe them? Even numbers, right? Because they're even. So I think that 8 and 10 come next, right? You noticed a pattern. Do we generalize patterns?
Yeah.
How? How was the pattern generalized?
Smaller to larger.
Right? Yeah. How else? +2, or when Daniel described, right? 2 plus 4 is 6, 4 plus 6 is 10. That's a generalization, right?
Evens.
Think about how much I did. I didn't do a lot, right? Asked a couple questions.
But you asked good questions.
Okay. I asked questions, and really what it comes down to is being good at asking questions and asking the right questions to ignite these things so that students become mathematicians, right? Okay. Should we do another one? Okay.
And we may have to choose wisely
Oh,
because it's
really?
already almost 11:30.
Told you, it always
My
takes.
fault.
Okay. Let's go on to the next
Do we
one.
want to
So
do this one?
that was probably an older student version possibly, but I think even younger students can look at a set of numbers like that and do what you just did, right? So maybe you're sitting with kindergartners. Pull out a picture like this, or pull out some, I don't know, Legos or whatever you probably have grandkids with toys at home, right? Pull out some toys, put them out. Okay, now what I want you to do, I'm going to change the questions a little bit, and I'm going to ask you, what is the same? What is different? And again, either write it down, keep it in your head, be ready to share out some ideas. What is the same? What is different?
They're the same colors and
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask, I'm gonna pick on this team. Just share one thing that either one of you noticed was the same or different. Okay, good.
2 groups of 4.
Okay, good. So there's a same and a different. What about over here? Anything different? Or the same that hasn't been said yet? Sizes. They do look like different. They're actually not supposed to be different. Probably copied and pasted the picture.
Preschool teacher
Yeah.
here. You got the mummy bear and the baby bear.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. You're totally right. No, they're different sizes. What's up? They're big. at any age answer the question I just asked you? Yeah. Okay, so now, somebody said there's groups of 4, right? How are those groups of 4 similar? How are they different? So I'm going to push you to think a little deeper now. How are those groups of 4 similar? How are they different?
Columns, or in rows.
Okay, they're columns and rows, both of them, right? Good. What else?
They're all bears.
They're all bears. Totally agree. Yeah.
Blue bears are in the same column.
Ah.
Those columns.
Blue bears are both in the left column. Mhm. Good.
Bears are all facing forward.
Yeah. How many blue bears? How many blue bears are there? Ah, there's a different number of blue bears. How many blue bears are in the one on the right-hand side? How many in the right, or sorry, looking at it. How many are on this side right here? And how many are over here? But you said they both have sets of 4. How is that possible if one has 3 bears and one has 2 bears? That was because they're bears. Okay, what other bears do we have there? How many red bears on the left-hand side right here? And how many on the right-hand side? If I asked you to write a statement, a mathematical statement about these bears, what mathematical statement could you write? Go ahead.
2 blue bears plus 2 red bears equals 4.
Perfect. I love that. I really like that. Could we write one for the other one? What could we write for the other one?
3 blue plus 1 red.
Mm-hmm. And how many, when we have 3 red or blue bears plus 1 red bear, how many do we have? I'll still get 4. All right. So I could push this even further and I could think, well, is there a different way I could do that? I've got a bunch of red and blue bears. Could you redo this and give me different combinations to give me 4? And could you write the mathematical statement that goes with that?
1 plus 3.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Do you see where I'm going with this? And again, was it high truck? Does it take a lot to do something like this? I'm going to show you a website that has pictures galore, just like this, where you can just grab a picture, grab your phone, go to that website, grab a picture on whatever the kids are looking at and or working on, and you can have them look at pictures and ask them questions. How are these the same? How are they different? All day long if you really want to. Okay. Is it igniting mathematics? Are they becoming mathematicians?
Yeah.
Did they notice patterns? Did they describe them? Or did you, I should say, did they generalize them? Did we? As soon as we started writing the 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 3 plus 1 equals 4, we're generalizing, right? They are becoming mathematicians. Now, how does that feel compared to a worksheet that says 2 plus 2, 1 plus 3, 4 plus 0, a worksheet like that? What's the difference? Does it feel different? Yeah, right?
I think it feels validating
Mhm.
to know that Bailey can be right and I can be right. It's not that either of us has a wrong answer. We have different answers. And to me, that validates me and it makes me want to keep trying because I haven't been shut down by something that somebody else got right and I got wrong.
Absolutely.
I think that's
Absolutely.
the art of math,
Yes,
you know, that you can come at it from,
yeah.
still make it validating.
It is, and we take that fascination away when we sit in front of a blank worksheet or just a worksheet of addition problems. But we can gain so much by doing something simple like that with the kids, where they feel valued, they feel like they're building off of each other's knowledge, learning from one another. Okay?
And I gave them,
Oh,
that
thank you.
that has that website.
Yeah, so there's actually 2 websites on the sheet you're looking at right there. One of them is the which one doesn't belong. That's like the activity Kristen did with you right at the beginning. They have tons and tons and tons and tons of different pictures that you could do. You can even just draw up with one yourself, like which one doesn't belong. It really doesn't have to be that crazy. And you could stick a bunch of bears on a table and do that. I mean, there's lots of very simple ways you can do that. And then the other one is same but different math. If you Google it, you'll get to the website. There'll be a bunch of pictures just like that. So very low prep. Or you bring your own things and set them up. Okay. Good. Okay. Next. So you might come to just a worksheet full of questions like this. And I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can tackle that and still ignite what we've just ignited with the pictures. Okay. So you have a question. Sure. Yeah. So this, don't be scared off by this packet. There's just tons of ideas on there on how to do what we're going to just do. So depending on a student's level of understanding of subtraction, okay, maybe a kid already knows 7 or 13, take away 7 or subtract 7, and just needs fluency work. That's where what you're getting right now comes into play, and you do just something called a number talk. And we'll talk through one of those as well. Or you could take it a step further if kids just aren't getting it. If you ask them 13 take away 7, what is it? And they have no idea where to begin. Okay, we start with questions. You just ask them questions. You don't tell them anything. You don't teach them anything. You just ask questions. Like, what do you know about the number 13? Tell me everything you know about the number 13. And maybe they know a bunch of things. Maybe they don't know a whole lot. Okay? If they know a bunch of things, validate those things that they know and understand about the number 13. If they don't, then that's where you can add a little bit. You could take out 13 gummy bears and be like, look at, I have 13 gummy snacks or whatever it is you have. This represents the number 13. Okay, then ask them, what do you know about the number 7? Tell me everything you know about the number 7. Could you draw me a picture to represent the number 7? Okay, again, I'm just asking 2 very simple questions. And then, what does this sign right here mean? What can we do with our gummies right now to show that happening? Or what can we do with your picture to show what is happening when we have 13 and we take away 7? Okay, so again, I am just asking questions. I don't have to have a deep understanding of the number 13 or 7 or subtraction or anything. I just need to simply ask them questions. They're going to tell me what they know, and then I'm going to fill in a few little pieces here and there if I need to, right? Okay, if you wouldn't mind going to the next one. What if they are just building fluency? That's when you do something called a number talk. So I'm going to walk us through this one as quickly as possible because we are running short on time, but I'm going to have you put, and if you have a group of kids, this is how you would do it. But if you just have one kid, you can easily do this with one kid. It's 2 as well. So I'm going to have you make a fist, and I'm going to have you put your fist to your chest. And we try really hard not to raise hands because in math tends to be about speed, right? Okay, and if you're me, I hate speed because it stresses me out and I shut down, and that's when I don't remember what 7 times 8 is, right? Even though I know what 7 times 8 is. Okay, so fist to chest. And I want you to look at this problem. And I want you to think of one way that you could come up with a solution. And once you have it, I want you to put one finger out. And I want you to look at it again and see if you can think of another way to get that same solution. And you can put a second finger out. And you can keep going. Maybe you'll have one finger, maybe you'll have 4, doesn't matter. And what I'm gonna do as the teacher, or the tutor, if I have a group of 4 kids, I'm gonna pick the kid with 1 finger out, and I'm gonna call on that person first. All of you have more than 1, but, so I'm just gonna ask, could you give me one way that you found 12 plus 13?
I see 2 10s and 5 1s, so 25.
Bingo. How many of you saw it that way? Saw the 10s, saw the 1s, put them together. Good. Okay, Laura, right?
Yes,
Do you have a different way that you saw it?
to add the very first number.
Tell me more about that.
I would stack them on top of each other.
Oh, okay, so using that standard algorithm, right? I would just do 12 plus 13. And then what would you do from there? They're stacked. Now what?
Now I'm gonna add them going straight down.
Okay, so the 2 plus the 3 is 5, and the 1 plus the 1 is 2. Did you get the same answer? So, did you do it the same way? Okay, but they're still somewhat similar because she added the 10s and then the 1s, but you added the 1s first and then the 10s, and that worked out, right? Did we have another one? Yeah.
I took 12 plus 10 and then 3 more.
Nice. So you counted up by starting with 1, right? And added another 10, and then added on the rest of the ones. I like that. Very good. Did you come up with the same solution? Yeah. Did you do it in a different way? Absolutely. There's one online?
So online, very similar to Laura's, 1 plus 1, and then 2 plus 3, and then he has always left to right.
Okay. All right. Okay, 10s and then 1, adding them together.
I
Good.
got the Legos out.
Yes. What did you do with the Legos?
I made a pile of 12 and I made a pile of 13 and I put them together and I counted them all.
All one by one.
All one by
All
one.
one by one. Great. All right. So now, are any of these strategies maybe quicker than others? Possibly. Yeah, possibly. But do we all get to the same solution? Absolutely. So as mathematicians, we tend to want to eventually get fluent, right? And fluent means we want to be able to work through things at a pretty good clip, right? I'm not super focused on speed, but just makes things
Thank
easier.
you. You guys are so good. Thank
Oh,
Thank you.
you. Oh, we have another meeting.
That's okay. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to stay.
Math is fun, that's why. Fabulous. So just thinking about the different ways that people added 12 and 13, the next time we do a problem like this, I want you to think about the way Laura did it versus the way, Anita did it. Okay? Think about the different ways that these people found the solution and maybe give it a try yourself. Okay? See if their method works better. So again, notice that I am not valuing one above the other, but I'm also saying, hey, why don't you try someone else's idea next time? It might be a little bit faster, or it might be easier for you the more you practice it, right? Okay, so just a couple of ways where you can take just that boring old worksheet that you get, or maybe you have no worksheet whatsoever, and you know that the student is struggling in multiplication or addition or subtraction. Just simply write out an addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, whatever it is, problem out, and just go through that number talk with them. Or ask them questions about the numbers. What do they know? What can you tell me about it? Can you draw me a picture? You know, just those simple things. All right, sorry. I get so wrapped up in what I'm doing. It ends up taking way longer.
Could I just say how significant it is that you're buying time for them to think and you're eliminating that quick right answer and that quick response, which eliminates so many
Absolutely.
kids in your classroom that don't get it quickly.
Absolutely. And that, thank you for bringing that up. And that's on some of the things that you're going to get, but that is a huge piece. And it, for me personally, and I just think about my daughter who is on an IEP, she has dyslexia. She really struggles, but she's brilliant. She really truly is if she's given time.
Yeah.
And that is huge. And I've learned a lot from her in raising her, because my other two were
they were easy. Well, not in some ways, you know, most of the ways they were right? They're all so different. But she just really struggles in school and wants to do very, very well. But we just know she needs the time. And if she's given that time is so important. They should never feel rushed, ever.
I used to give them time and then do a choral response and say, yes, if you got it right. And then it eliminates that, wait, I didn't get it right, but if they're saying yes in unison, they all get that feeling of getting it right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very good.
And
Thank you.
to your point about giving them time, even if they do get the answer right, even if they are the type of kid who does immediately,
Right.
get the answer, they can't always justify why they got it right. And that actually leads me to what I was.
Push them to find it another way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And find another way.
Yes.
That actually leads me to I was just gonna really quickly talk through.
Yes,
These things, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time, but, if they can't explain their reasoning or justify, why they got it right, then do they really fully understand? So I like that even for a kid who, immediately says they know. So this is just an example. Teresa shared with us that some of your school districts use, or that you're working with, use math expressions as a text. And so you may see worksheets that look similar to this. This is an example of a 3rd grade worksheet, and it's got the answers. I don't know if you can tell, it might be hard to see, but the answers are in pink. And so obviously you're not going to have the answers, right? But I just wanted to mention that sometimes taking a worksheet like this and using like estimation can be really helpful in helping kids who often are like the type like me, who is really all about the rule following. Like I knew the rule and I could just do it, but if I didn't understand why I was doing something, I can make simple mistakes. And so using a strategy like estimating, so in these subtraction problems, estimating first, rounding up 147 to like 150, 32 down to 30, subtracting, and using estimation that way to see if when you actually do the algorithm and you get your answer, are they close? And if they're not, then where did we go wrong? So having those conversations is also really important. And then, drawing a picture would be another strategy. If you are given a worksheet with, lots of words, sometimes kids get really intimidated by word problems and they see words in math and they're like, what the heck, this is math, you're not supposed to read. So try, breaking it down, pulling out key pieces of information, drawing pictures, talking through it, all sorts of things. And if you do get worksheets from the kids or from the teachers, using those resources, often there are examples that you can pull from the resources that you're given that you can look back at, or if you're comfortable using a device, Googling, if there's a topic you're not familiar with, try Googling it, even as a math teacher, like we don't know everything. And so when my niece who's now in pre-calculus reaches out to me, I'm like, I'll get back to you. I'm gonna Google that real quick. And then, I have a degree in math, so let me get rid of that. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember how to do that. But I mean, it's normal. It's, and it's important to be able to teach kids how to use the resources.
And that's why it's so important to push the learning in the direction that we're talking about too, because if they experience the math, they're going to remember it. But if they're being taught if they, as soon as they stop using it, just like us,
Right.
they lose it.
And it's experiencing you struggle while they struggle. That's
a real thing.
Valuable as well.
Yeah. What were you going to
I was
ask?
just gonna say, sometimes you might have a teacher give you a worksheet. This is the assignment. Please help this child complete the assignment. Or maybe they just give you a worksheet saying, this is good practice for today. And one thing that I think is helpful in both situations actually is to allow the student to say, circle 5 of these. Let's just chunk this out. Circle 5 of these. And let's work on those first. Tell me which one of these 5 you want to start with. And just give some ownership to the students. Because in the amount of time that you're working with that child, you're most likely not going to get the whole worksheet done. And giving them some ownership, I think, again, validates that learning for them and it draws them in.
And to dovetail off that, I used to, when I taught, I would, if I had 20 problems and I was only gonna have them do 10, I would tell them to do the 10 easiest ones because, it made the students think, it made them think about, okay, which ones are easiest, and, you're just automatically getting a higher level of thinking just in doing that analysis. So, if you're in a tutoring situation and, they have to complete 10 problems, having them choose the hardest ones to work with you, again, is a benefit of having them do that analysis up front, and then, reassuring that they're doing the harder ones.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
Just one more thing I heard from the math core teacher in our school with difficulty of word problems. The students didn't have the literacy to read.
Absolutely. That is a real struggle with math.
Which takes us back to, right, the movement that Minnesota is taking with the READ Act and all the implications of the science of reading, the simple view of literacy. All of that is for that reason.
And if you could just break that barrier and just read it to them, in that moment.
Tests are read to them too.
Yeah.
And they get to use calculators.
I gave you guys this handout that Steph already mentioned previously about the number talks, right?
No,
Or sorry,
yeah.
the which one doesn't belong and the same but different math. If you're in a situation where a kid comes to you and says, like, I think of middle schoolers, like my experience is 6 through 12, and I don't have a lot of experience in the primary grades, but my experience is middle school, and oh, I've got something to do. I have no homework. So if you're in a situation like that, I've got this on the back side of this handout that Steph was talking about. I found a bunch of games that if you just got a simple deck of cards, these are all really simple. So if you have a deck of cards, if you prefer to go old school and not use a device, these games are pretty simple to pick up and to understand, and can practice some of those little basic math skills. So even if they've got nothing to work on, you can find something to do with them. Or Steph's suggestions of Googling which one doesn't belong, same but different math that are on that packet as well.
Or just doing a number talk. Even if you just did one number talk with these kids, every time you met with them, it builds so much fluency. It really does. Just building off of the different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and as we're starting to wrap up here, we have some bookmarks made for you guys to bring with you to your tutoring sessions. I think you already have some. Awesome. So on one side, you're going to see those questions that Steph was leading you through, those number talks, and those which one doesn't belong, and the same but different. The what do you notice, what do you wonder, do you draw a picture? So if you've got a worksheet and you have, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with those questions, right? There's also some reminders on the other side for you as well to try to remember when you're, maybe your patience is thin, or you're just feeling a little nervous before you go into those meetings. Every child deserves a champion, right? So just building those connections and those relationships. And it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Give kids the time they need. So what can we take away from this? I want to give you some time to think about these questions. Maybe we can just discuss with our elbow partner, as you begin your tutoring, how has your vision of mathematics changed by engaging in today's work? And how will you use this to help the students that you'll be working with? Take some time to think about it on your own or with your elbow partner. Yes. Yeah.
And then we have the teachers.
You got it.
It's just-
Does anybody want to share any thoughts, anything from the chat, or anything that you've taken away from today, or how your view of math has changed? Huge.
Yeah, I mean, for when I went to school a while ago, it's all memorization and you're like the quickness. And so I'm at home with flashcards because I don't want to be embarrassed the next. And this is so nice that I wish my son had the opportunity to go because he hates math. And this is great. And to hear about teachers now that are inspiring kids.
And it
Yeah.
changed for me because of medical issue. My husband and I taught 3 of our grandkids at home for 2 years during COVID. And we got the curriculum from the state of Minnesota and the math. I was doing 1st and 2nd grade math and I gotta come at this differently. But it was fun for me to learn that. And you're writing these equations in 1st grade, 4 different ways you're using, you're drawing, They sent, the state of Minnesota was great. They wouldn't have had to our house, but they sent all these manipulatives and everything came. And they were ours to keep. And so, math became kind of a fun thing. Very different from when I was growing up.
Did you want to share something too? I thought I saw you.
Well, I was just gonna say, maybe I could tutor math.
You can. Absolutely.
You absolutely can.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just the activities that they did were so fun for kids to take home and do with their families. Because all families are scared of the new math too.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious because I would on paper be a really good math student because I got all A's. Because I was the rule follower and I would memorize. I have no idea what any of it means. So then my husband, who on paper is horrific at math, gets a job and has to reconstruct accident scenes with all of these distances and things. And he's doing all of the equations. And that was the first time that I was like, that's what that does. And that's how it's applied. I never knew what one thing that I did meant. And that's why it's hard for my age group a little bit to get into help kids think about math. It seems so overwhelming because it's like, I don't know, you just do it this way. You just do it this way.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's no understanding behind it. It's just, this is the rule. I followed it. It worked. So.
And I got straight A's. So, yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, again, we're trying to get ourselves out there working with teachers. And just, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit of feedback on this sheet, just so we know, what went well, what didn't go so great, any sort of feedback, just so we can share with, the teachers that we're hoping.
We're learning too. We're trying to get better. So lifelong learners.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So,
To all of our presenters today, thank you.
So you have an eval in front of you for our math presentation. At the back of your folder on the right side is an eval for this entire event. And it's broken out into questions about, did we meet our objective? I have slides. I don't want to waste time filling them up. Did we meet our objective of community, building community? Did we meet some objectives of helping you learn about how to be the best reading tutor you could be? Did we help answer the question, how can you be the best math tutor? That's what this yellow sheet asks. The smaller one that you're completing right now for math is specifically for Stefanie and Kristen. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Once you blink something, it's awful.